in the Constructors' Championship and the end to Lewis's season, as the German outfit finished 39 points down on Ferrari, which is still an excellent result considering how turbulent their season, or specifically their start to the season, was. Lewis Hamilton saying earlier this weekend that he felt they had lost 10 months worth of progress on the rest of the field due to the issues with porpoising that plagued them early in the season. Lando Norris ended up 6th, also nabbing the final fastest lap point of the season to take his tally of points up to 122 all told, at 7th place in the championship, thanks to yet another very consistent and impressive season. This is also his 4th consecutive points finish in Abu Dhabi, the Brit using a simple 2-stop strategy to hold position all race, benefiting from the Hamilton DNF for 2 extra points. However, this result, as well as Daniel Ricciardo's P9, were unfortunately not enough for McLaren to surpass Alpine for 4th in the Constructors' Championship, as Esteban Ocon managed P7, leaving the French outfit 14 points ahead. Points for Danny Ric is a welcome conclusion to his tenure as McLaren driver, and a very good recovery after taking that grid penalty, which saw him start outside of the top 10, despite making Q3. Many times earlier this season, we have seen Daniel falter in these situations, but he confidently moved through the field. Esteban Ocon also had a good race, with a 1-place improvement on his qualifying position, the result of some crafty turn 9 overtakes. He finished the season on 92 points in P8 in the Drivers' Championship, his best ever points tally in Formula 1. It seems that the only way is up for the Frenchman. The story has really been one of consistency for Esteban this year, similarly to Norris, with very few mistakes made and just a real slew of points at the start of the season. The 2 Aston Martins also had a strong final race of the season, with their 3rd double points finish, leaving them tied on 55 points to Alfa Romeo in the championship for 6th. It merely a P5 finish at Imola for Valtteri Bottas, holding the Silverstone-based team back from £12 million. And it was double disappointment for Sebastian Vettel on his final Grand Prix, as he fell to 12th in the championship due to Daniel Ricciardo's 2 points in P9, and Seb only picking up the 1 in 10th. It's crushing to think that 2 key World Championship positions could have been made, if not for that 6/10 of a gap to the Aussie. But it was, in a way, Aston Martin's own doing, as they put Seb on a 1-stop strategy, which ended up being the wrong call, as, despite running in the top 7 for a large part of the race, the German fell back near the end, and, as I said earlier, could not snag that vital extra point. Lance Stroll was one of the stars of the Grand Prix, in a similar manner to Daniel Ricciardo, starting in 14th place and working his way up to 12th by the end of the opening lap. After pitting early, he settled on the double stop and passed Zhou Guanyu, his teammate Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo on his way to a strong 8th place, capping off one of the best races of his season with 4 points. Tsunoda and Zhou Guanyu were just outside the points, whilst Alex Albon ended up in 13th, followed by Pierre Gasly and Valtteri Bottas, who had yet another poor outing, with a risky strategy call most certainly not paying off, and falling prey to a clutch double overtake at turn 9 by Alonso. However, that would be some of the only joy Fernando would get out of this Grand Prix, as his season would also end early thanks to a water leak, his 6th retirement of the season. Fernando could have produced a mind-boggling amount of points had it not been for his pile-up of DNFs. having scored in every race he saw the checkered flag but one all season long. The Haas pairing were last of the finishers, with Mick Schumacher certainly not covering himself in glory in his final outing in the Haas, as he and Nicholas Latifi, who would later retire, came together on lap 39, the Canadian being spun out into the wall at the hairpin. Now for my driver of the race, and it's Lance Stroll. I know that everybody wants it to be Sebastian Vettel, but sadly, despite his points finish, final one of his career, it was his teammate who really shone in my eyes, not flinching at the challenging P14 on the grid, and making some very mature overtakes for his 8th points finish of the season. Now for my team of the race, and it's McLaren. Again, whilst Aston Martin did get that double points finish, it could have been a lot more, had they got their strategy spot on. On the other hand, McLaren as a whole team were perfect from start to finish, with Daniel Ricciardo achieving an unprecedented comeback in the current stage of his career, and Lando Norris converting his strong qualifying performance into his 7th top 6 of the season. Finally, for my struggle of the race, and it's Mick Schumacher. On his final outing for at least 18 months, Mick did everything in his power to dissuade a team from re-signing him in the future, as he was unable to convert his 12th on the grid into anything but a rash move on another driver unlikely to return, Nicholas Latifi. I hope that Mick may one day be able to rejoin the grid, but he needs to hone his craft significantly for people to take notice. Thank you for listening to F1 every week this season. I really hope that you enjoyed all of my race reviews, and feel free to leave a comment letting me know which one you found most interesting, or which race in general you found most interesting. I'm going to be covering a lot of news stories in the coming 6 or 7 months in the lead up to the 2023 season. And if you have any ideas for anything that you want to hear me cover in detail, then feel free to let me know. I got a comment a couple of days ago, from an individual who would like to see more about engines and the way that engines work in Formula 1, and I'll be covering that in the coming couple of weeks. And just in the short term, I'm going to be doing rounding up the ups and downs of Sebastian Vettel's illustrious career next week, with some season summaries, some 2024 seat predictions, and some just general reaction to this season coming up in the next few months. I hope that everybody who listens to this podcast really enjoyed this Formula 1 season. I don't think it was as good on merit as the 2021 season, but that's very, very hard to beat. Max Verstappen was truly dominant from almost start to finish. I think it seemed to have a very promising start, but really just kind of descended as the season progressed, and Ferrari proved to be completely useless. Again, thank you for listening to this episode of F1 every week, and I will see you next time for a roundup of Sebastian Vettel's incredible career.